Dear Hidden in the Truth, I just realized that Project Diva F's second comes out on the 18th, which means that if you haven't pre-ordered it already, it looks like I know what I'll be reviewing this month. Yeah, it's one of these again. Vocaloids are still going strong on both sides of the pond, which means these games are going to keep coming out, and I'm going to keep having to buy them for the rest of the team. So what's changed over the past 15 months? Has the game been expanded in any meaningful way? Are all my old criticisms still valid? Is this the thing that'll finally make me descend into Uber fandom? The answers to all this and more will be given right now. Not much, kinda, definitely, and not really. Project Diva F's second, as you may have guessed, is the second in a series of rhythm games based around the vocaloids, Japanese programs used to simulate a singer's voice. And before you ask, yes, these characters are insanely popular, but that's mostly due to their inherently malleable nature. Most pop stars we know have a certain persona their music works best when revolving around. Nicki Minaj is best when she's in your face and spitting fire. Everyone expects Mariah Carey to be moving and soulful, and Katy Perry is most tolerable when she's being balls to the wall stupid. But in the hands of the right composers and DJs, Vocaloids can perform everything, and they do perform just about everything over the course of this game's soundtrack. Sugary sweet pop, alternative rock, club, electronic, classical, you name it. There are over 40 fan-created tracks from the digital pop stars in this game, and they all feel unique from one another. It's just a shame, then, that the best of these tunes don't get unlocked for play until about an hour in. I'm not saying the early songs are bad, it's just that they're not very interesting. We've all heard songs like Melt and Packaged before, especially if you played the original game. Give me the moving, worldly sound of Thousand Years Solo, or the fiery ferocity of Destroy, Destroy any day. Or, as this game calls it, Break It, Break It. Also, there's a tune in this game called Doubleganger. So that's a thing. Then again, it's probably better than the original title, which roughly works out to Genghis spoofing, so you make your own call on how bad that translation was. I will say, I do like the soundtrack in this game better than the first, if only because there's a higher number of really good tracks, including a lot of ones left over from the last game. Meteor, Wintry Winds, Miracle Painting, and 2D Dream Fever are all fantastic, not to mention Meltdown, which is probably the best song anybody has ever made using the Vocaloid software. And then there's Cantrella Grace Edition. Maybe I've just been listening to these characters for too long, but I can barely tell this is synthetic. Take a listen. I honestly don't know if I should be impressed or terrified about how close that sounds to a human voice. What I do know is that if you've played the first Project Diva, not much has changed in the gameplay department. It's still a rhythm game, asking you to hit certain buttons in time with the music as they line up with a hit zone, a la Dance Dance Revolution. The difference being, instead of these zones staying in one spot consistently throughout the songs, they appear all over the screen. If that sounds like it can get hard to follow sometimes, that's because it does. All of my criticisms of this system from the first review are still valid. Because of how flashy and impressive the videos playing in the background are, it can get very disorienting as your eyes strain to make out your cues for what buttons to press and when. In the worst case scenarios, the triggers can downright bleed into the video, practically disappearing from sight. The only reason I hit these is because I guessed, hoping against hope that they were lined up in time with the part of the song I was actually focusing on. Worst of all, some of the later difficulties use this to their advantage, purposely putting notes in strange patterns in a deliberate attempt to trick your eyes. Sega, this is not a feature you should be glorifying. That perfect rank is not worth it to me if I literally get a migraine in the process of attaining it. Trust me, unless you've played the original recently, you want to go through all of these on easy mode first before you try hopping into normal. Not just because it'll help you get mentally acclimated to what this game is demanding of you, but also because the costumes characters are supposed to be wearing during these scenes do not unlock until you play through them at least once. This is something that's bugged me since the first game, mostly on the front of how silly it looks. I'm sorry, but seeing Luca in her normal clothes, walking around an office building pretending to do important things while singing is just goofy. And because of the aforementioned reasons, I could really do with as few distractions as possible. What's weird is that the side characters in any given song are in costume, and they lock your ability to customize those guys until you buy the proper costume in the store. So it's important to you that the extra elements are in line with the video, but not the focal point of the song. I don't get it. I've never met a man of such grace and poise. Oh, by the way, thanks for dressing up for the ball. I will say though, speaking of the collectibles, mad props for adding a feature that shows me both how to get all of these and which songs they're connected to. There's not a single person who plays this game who isn't going to appreciate that. There are bonus modes as well, but they're mostly just side attractions to the main game. For the otaku in your life, the Diva room is back, which allows you to actually interact with the characters. You can decorate their living quarters, give them gifts, touch them, watch them when they're sleeping. I'm uncomfortable. Interestingly enough, though, this is where you'll find both the sound test and the video player, meaning if you just want to listen to or watch the songs, and even create playlists of your favorites, you'll have to do it through the jukebox gadget in the Diva room. And finally, we have edit mode, which is the single biggest waste of time in the entire game. I'm kind of sore that I just glanced over this the first time around because I didn't realize just how bad it was. It's still a bare-bones 3D video editor, restricting you to very small sets with no interactive elements and a stunningly small list of character actions. If you went into this mode thinking it would give you the tools to make visual masterpieces like the liquid light show you're looking at now, boy, are you in for a shock. I think the most incriminating evidence to how pathetic this thing is, though, is that when you try to load existing sample data from a song that comes on the disc, not only do you only have 3 songs to choose from, but the videos are completely different, stripped down to much less ambitious and much less impressive forms. It just goes to show how hard you have to try to make something look good with these tools, and even if you spend all that time to make something really cool, it's all for naught. Because while you can share your creations with other people online, your upload edit data does not come with the music. Meaning unless the people who download it have the exact same MP3 that you do, they'll never experience it the way you intended. And I realize there's no easy solution for this. You can't have a service that allows you to download MP3s of potentially famous songs to any device. That's called piracy, even if it is in the vein of creativity. It just feels really disappointing, especially considering all the trouble you have to go through to make these tools look good. You know how in Little Big Planet, how all the main story missions were made using the in-game editor? Remember how you could import those into your own editor and toy around with them to get some inspiration about how to make your own projects better? Remember how somebody just got done spending 2 years of their life working within that editor to recreate the entirety of Final Fantasy VII in the game, including side quests? That. When I can do that in Project Diva F, come back to me, because until then, this mode is worthless. At the end of the day, Project Diva F 2nd is pretty much the same game as the first, meaning it carries all the same perks, flaws, and creative concerns that it is my job as a reviewer to inform you about. Mostly that if you're just not a fan of the Vocaloids, you're probably not going to get a whole lot out of this. So once again, I've listed all my favorite songs from this game in the description below, one for each character. Give them a listen, and if you like what you hear, there is a demo available on PlayStation Network for free. I must once again caution anyone who's on the ropes about this game to really make sure it's worth your money, because this video is mostly for you. As for people who are already Vocaloid fans, this probably isn't so relevant, because if the import feature in Diva F 2nd, which allows you to import save data from the Japanese version of the game, is any indication, chances are you already own it. So go forth, Miss Hatsune, into this package, which I now promptly mail to Akron, Ohio, and may you sing your little virtual heart out when you get there.